Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys know what time it is, don't you? Yeah. Oh, let's make sure I can see our goofballs up here in the chat. Paul, would you mind putting something into Discord for the Peanut Gallery so they know to get on? Oh, good. We've already got quite a few people on. Good. Awesome. Whew. Let's give everybody just a couple more seconds to get on board in. Make sure you get your drink ready, because you know what comes next. That's about enough of that, because you guys know what it's time for. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It is time for Live with Jack number 92. Hello, I am Jack, and today I'm going to be teaching you about Shit Tests 101. We're going to be talking about how to deal with all of your different shit tests. We have all of these examples that we took in from the community. Guys submitted issues that they've been having and stuff like that. We're going to go through exactly how to deal with each and every one of these. But even more importantly than that, I'm going to teach you how to deal with them, but I'm also going to teach you why these things work. I'm going to teach you the techniques for each of these, why they work, and I'm going to teach you exactly what shit tests are and why they're actually a good thing for you. So if you're ready for that, then what you actually have to do, because I know that you're not just here as a tourist, you're not just here to visit and see what's going on. No, you're here to get the ultimate experience. So if you would like to take this live stream up to orgasmic levels, all you need to do is grab your glass, your mug, or your flask, a chalice, a stein, or even a cask. Raise it high and let's make a splash. It's time now for our libation bash. Toast the night and enjoy the mood. Together now, we drink some booze. On your mark, let's not wait. It's cheers with chaps, so don't be late. Cheers, boys. That is a lot of whiskey. Goodness. Delicious. All right. So, cheers, everybody. Let's go ahead and jump straight into today's lesson. So, for Shit Test 101, the very first thing that we need to talk about is what even are shit tests? What is this? You guys might hear this term bandied about. You might hear people talk about it and say like, oh, it is a shit test or something like that, but they don't ever really explain what it is. A shit test is basically when a girl is trying to check if you are who and what you say you are. Imagine it kind of similar to like when you go to a grocery store and you want to buy a tomato. You look at it, it looks good, but then you kind of pick it up and you give it a squeeze to see like, is it actually ripe or not? You're just checking that it actually is what it's... Okay, Simba, come on, come on. You're just checking to see that it actually is what it's showing itself to be. And she's doing the same thing to you. She's checking to see if you're actually congruent, which is something that we've talked about a lot on this channel. So what does that even mean? Why do girls do this? What is this? Well, the reality is that everybody knows words mean very little. You can say anything you want. You can act one way. You can use some fancy words. You can seem like a smooth guy who's really got it all together. But she wants to be sure. She wants to know that you really are who you say you are. We can see Bento's tail out there in the hallway. Bento, do you want to come and join? Okay, come on. Come on. No? Okay, that's fine. So, right. Why does she do it? She might be testing your boundaries to see what you actually care about or what's important to you. Do you want to come in? No. Okay. And that's it for the dogs. I'm not dealing with any more. So she might be testing you to see where your boundaries are, to see what your values are, what's important to you. She might be testing your personality. Maybe you are trying to come off as a very easygoing guy who, oh, I'm unflappable, nothing bothers me, it's okay, it's all good. But then the second she says something that kind of triggers you, she's going to dig a little deeper and she's going to poke a little harder to see, where are the chinks in your armor? What's going on with you? Now, the reason that this is a good thing is because this means that the girl is interested in you. She wants to give you a shot. She wants to give you a chance. And all you have to do is actually be congruent, is actually be the person who you are pretending to be, who you're acting like. Because if you actually are that person, then you never have to worry about any of these things, because it will just be the most natural response in the world. However, I understand that becoming the kind of person who is unflappable, who is able to deal with all of these situations, is not an overnight process. And the idea of just saying, well, just be that guy, is kind of a ridiculous statement. Because that's like saying, well, just be naturally great at everything in the world. Why don't you? Come on, man. No, I understand. This is training. It's a learning process, and you're going to be starting out, and it's going to be very difficult. And then it's going to get easier and easier as you have more experience, as you go through these situations more often. So let's go ahead and explain real quick. What does a pass or a fail look like? Now, this is going to depend on the shit test. It's going to depend on the girl. But what's going to happen is if you're failing the shit test, then she's going to keep poking at it. And she's going to keep teasing you about it, or she's going to keep bringing it up because she's not sure. Wait, does he really not know? Does he really not feel that way? What's going on here? If you fail, she's going to keep on messing with that thing because she's found a chink in your armor, and she's going to try to use that to exploit that. So what does a pass look like then? A pass, if you pass your shit test, she just moves on. She just skips over that topic. She doesn't bring it back up because you've already given her a satisfactory answer. And that's the most important thing. Whenever you're dealing with these shit tests, whenever you're dealing with objections, things like that, if you give an answer that's already solid enough, then she doesn't need to come back to it because you've answered the question. There's no more objection. There's no more shit test. She already knows you are who you say you are. You feel the way that you act, and you act the way that you feel. You are congruent. So once you pass the shit test, she's going to move on. Now, let's explain what are some of the different ways to pass shit tests. And don't worry, we're going to get into examples of what some situations are so that we have the kind of theoretical, exploratory version of it, but then we also have the practical examples to show you what this looks like in real life. So there are a lot of different strategies for passing shit tests, and understanding these is really useful because you'll be able to apply them in your life whenever you run into some kind of test or some kind of issue that isn't exactly one of these examples. So understanding the different ways and the different strategies that you can employ to pass your shit test is going to be critical. Okay, Simba, go. This is your chance. Go. So, first off, one of the things that you need to understand is that humor plays a big part in, let's see if we can move that up a little bit, get rid of some glare. That's much better. Okay, good. Humor plays a big part in many of these strategies. I understand practicing humor is very difficult, especially for the more serious-minded guys out there. It can be a hard thing to do, but I'm going to give you some examples of how exactly we do that. Now, some of these use humor, and I've marked those specifically. Some of them are not. Some of these are more serious. So you can apply the different strategies more or less often, depending on your own style and what makes sense to you. Our first one here is agree and amplify. This is where you take something that she says and you take it to the logical extreme. You take it to such a big level that it points out how silly or how stupid it is, or it makes her reconsider, or it makes her stop and say, well, maybe I shouldn't fuck with this guy right now because he's ready to take it up another notch or 10, right? So that's the idea of agree and amplify. Thank you, Simba. He's left toy traps on the floor for me. Our next strategy here is to flip the script. This is when she expects you to say something and you say the exact opposite thing. Often, this strategy means saying what a girl would normally say in that situation. Like, for example, if you say something like, well, come on, buy a guy dinner first, or something like that, something that a woman would normally say, but you are the one employing it. So she understands the strategy. She understands, wait a minute, this is a little bit of role reversal here. Something's a little bit off. Something's funny here. Oh, that's because he's not taking it seriously. Whatever you're using, especially these humorous styles of dealing with shit tests, the point here is that you you view what she's saying or what she's worried about or what she's concerned about as so beneath you that it's an obvious joke. It's not something that anybody should be worried about or anybody should be concerned with, because really, is that your issue? Okay, come on, move along. Let's keep going. So those are good strategies that use humor. The next two don't use humor as much. So this next one here is urgency or scarcity. And this is when you can create either artificial or real urgency or scarcity in a situation. This works really well if a girl is kind of like pushing off getting a date set up with you, and then you bring up something very real. You say like, okay, cool. Well, look, if you can't make it this Thursday, then no problem. But the next time we can meet is, it looks like about 3 months from now. So do you think we can do this Thursday, or do we need to like call my secretary and pencil you in for March, or what's going on? So you can create some urgency or scarcity here that's going to blow most of your shit tests out of the water. Because once you have scarcity, that increases the demand for whatever thing it is. In this case, it's you, your time, your date. Because if it's too scarce, or if there's urgency in it, as in we need to book this in now, because if you don't, we're not going to have another opportunity for a long time. This is going to decrease the supply in her mind, which naturally increases the demand in her mind. This is going to destroy most shit tests if you employ it correctly, and if it's actually true and congruent. If you're creating purely fake scarcity, then you're running a different kind of risk. Because if she's already shit testing you, then she might be suspecting that there's something incongruent here, that there's something wrong going on. So you need to be real about this, but you can use this to great effect. And I'll give you an example of that in a little bit. Actually, I'm not sure when over here exactly I would give this example, but I've told this story before about a girl who I had scheduled a date with her, and she called me about 2 hours before we were supposed to meet for the date. And this was our first date. And she said, oh, I'm really excited for our date. I can't wait to see you. But, something's come up. My parents said that I have to go meet them for dinner. And you know how it is, like with family, I can't really say no to them. And I said, look, no, I completely get it. I totally understand. But just so you know, I have a rule that if somebody cancels on the first date, I delete their number and I never talk to them again. So if you can't come, I totally get it. I completely understand. No hard feelings. I wish you all the best. But, I follow the rules. And within 5 minutes, she had changed the plans so that I could meet with her. That was creating urgency. That was creating scarcity. It actually did both of those in her mind because she only had a couple of hours left since she waited so long to tell me. And it created scarcity because this was her one and only shot to actually go out on a date with me. That worked very well in that situation. So you can use this as well. The next one is redirection or misdirection. This one I'm not as big of a fan of because this strategy can work if you have no other options. If there's no other way for you to deal with the shit test, maybe your humor's not up to snuff, maybe you can't come up with a way to create urgency or scarcity, maybe you can't genuinely affect indifference in this case. Whatever it is, this one is basically just like oh, that's an interesting question. Wait, look, a distraction, right? It's okay because it moves the topic somewhere else. But the reason I don't like this is because it doesn't actually answer the question of whether you're congruent, of whether you know what you're doing or not. And on top of that, it leaves it open for her to come back around to it later. So I'm not a huge fan of this, but in an emergency situation, this is a strategy you can use to at least postpone a shit test, which for some situations might be all you need. Our next one here is intentional misunderstanding. This one is really, really fun and I love it, but it's very difficult to do on the spot. This one takes a lot of practice with wit, with being clever, with wordplay, with turning things around, but this can be extremely effective. This is probably, out of all of these, this is the funniest one, but it's also the most difficult to do on the fly. So this would be something like, she says one thing and you either completely misinterpret the meaning on purpose, or you hear a different set of words that make the sentence funny, right? And so you change the words up to make it sound funnier, or to make it sound less serious. This is essentially the expert version of the redirection and misdirection, because you're taking her question and you're either flipping it on its head intentionally, or you're turning it into different words, ignoring the answer entirely, but doing it in such a way that it shows, no, I understood what you said, but this version was more fun, so that's what I went with. It shows a level of confidence and of indifference to her answer, which we're going to get to next, that is basically unbeatable. However, like I said, it's very, very difficult to apply it in the moment, because this takes a lot of practice. And when you start trying to learn this technique and to use it, you're going to fail a ton. But once you get really good at it, this is the best weapon, I think, in the shit test arsenal. And our last one on here doesn't require any humor at all. This one is pure indifference. This one works if you, first of all, truly don't care, but second, you have a very serious and stoic kind of personality that you're portraying. If you are very lively and upbeat and clownish like I usually am, then all of a sudden changing to pure indifference doesn't seem like indifference. It seems like I'm acting pouty. Like I'm being a little bitch. I'm like, fine. Well, I don't care. I'm not going to invite you to my birthday then, right? Or like some stupid childish shit like that. So this one only works for certain personality types, but this can be extremely effective. This also works really well through texting, because they aren't getting as much of your personality in there. And so you can play indifferent a lot easier through text than you can in person. So you can use a complete indifference of just like, okay, whatever, roger that, gay, just like simple one-word answers that show I'm not affected at all. I actually just kind of don't care. And that, like I said, can be very effective, but it needs to match your style and your personality. It needs to match who you are and what she's getting from you. If trying to pass the shit test means that you become even less congruent and less true to yourself, then it's going to open up a whole different set of worms and shit tests. So don't use this one unless it really does match who you are and how you're coming across. But it can be a very effective tool in your arsenal. Now, let's jump into the examples. So for those of you who are following along at home, for those of you who are going to be joining in our panel a little bit later, if you see some of these and maybe you think of a different example of how you can deal with this situation, then take a note of that, because I'd like to hear your thoughts later, or drop it in the comments as we're going along, and we can do this live and we can kind of exchange ideas on this. But I'm going to kind of run through these and just give an example of how I might deal with them in that situation. So the way that I framed this whenever I was asking people for issues that they have or objections they face was I said exactly that. What kind of objections or shit tests have you run into that might make a girl not want to go on a date with you or not want to go home with you after the date? I realize that those are two separate points in a relationship, but they're both still essentially objections. And at the end of the day, they're actually just shit tests, because what she lacks is she lacks confidence that you are who you say you are. She is not 100% sold on you as a person. So it's an objection. It's a shit test. She's checking to see who you are. Now, let's look at some of these. So this first one, I'm on my period. This is one that girls can use essentially with impunity. Because, first of all, most guys, as soon as they hear that, or they just hear like feminine problems or something like that, they're just like, nope, I'm out of here, later. And then they leave it alone. So girls know that they can use this as basically a get out of jail free card, whatever the situation is. Don't want to go on a date? Oh, sorry, I'm on my period. Don't want to have sex that night? Oh, sorry, I'm on my period. Just cheated on your boyfriend and don't want him to know because, you know, you just came home. Oh, sorry, I'm on my period, right? Like, girls use this all the time. Here's the thing. It might be true any given time that she uses it. So you need to understand that and accept it. One of the fun ways that you can deal with this is one of our techniques here. Flip the script. You can say, oh my God, what a coincidence. I am too. That's funny because that's not what she expected you to say. You're flipping the script. You're saying you're on your period too. And she's like, wait, you don't get periods, right? Yes, that's right. You've connected the dots. Very good. Excellent. So anyway, about the date, and then you just move along with it. Another one, and this is more on the I don't want to go home with you tonight, and a girl says this. I haven't used this particular line, but this was an agree and amplify technique used on this, where there was a guy, some of you might be old enough to know Roosh or Roosh V. And one of the things that he would say is oh, perfect. I'm a vampire. I drink the blood, which, gross. But as far as agree and amplify goes, textbook example of just saying like, so what, right? Because for most men out there, even if you get a girl back to your place and she wants to hook up and she's like, oh, but I'm on my period, then you're just going to be like, okay, like, we'll put a towel down. It's not going to stop me because you know what you want. And that is not enough of a hurdle to stop most men, especially the first time that you're hooking up with a girl. So you go the other way. You go with the agree and amplify, which again, not my preferred way. In that kind of situation, if a girl is trying to go home with you, or if she's already back at your place and she says, oh, but I'm on my period right now, you can either flip the script, or what I usually have done in that situation is just pure indifference, right? Where I just say like, oh, perfect. I'll get out the red towel. You just lay a towel down on the bed, right? Like, I've already prepared for this moment. It doesn't bother me one bit. It's perfectly fine. And that's another way that you can play it. So let's move on to the next one here. I'm not feeling well. She has a cold. She has a flu. This usually happens before the date, but she's already scheduled a date with you. And then she's trying to beg off of the date. She's trying to get out of her commitment. So she says, oh, you know what? I'm just not really feeling well, right? Most guys in this situation would be like, oh, well, feel better. I hope that you feel better. You just let me know, like, whenever you're feeling better, right? And what are you going to get with that? Absolutely nothing, right? She's just, whether she's sick or not, she might be telling the truth. She might not be. Doesn't matter. She's checking you to see basically how much do you really want to hang out with me? And if you go a different direction with it, if you agree and amplify, if you say like, oh yeah, everybody's sick these days. It's almost like we've all got COVID again. It's okay. I got really good at kissing through masks during the pandemic or whatever. You go a different direction with it. Or you flip the script and say, oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'm pretty sure that I got you sick whenever we were making out in your dreams last night. Right? And you flip it, right? You take some other route with it. Or you just don't care, right? You just don't care. And you can do that as well and say like, oh, well, good, because I have a superb immune system, so I'm not even worried about it. Yeah, exactly right, Coot. Give me Corona. Oh, shit. I failed. Give me the Rona. Yeah, absolutely. Go with something like that. Say like, oh, you know what? That's great news, because I've been meaning to boost my immunity and my immune system a little bit. So yeah, come on over. It'll be perfect. We're going to have a great time. I would go any way other than pure understanding. One of the things to remember, especially with these objections about going on the date, like she's already made a plan with you and then she's trying to get out of the date. One important thing to remember is that, yes, she might be shit testing you, but you should also be shit testing her. Make sure if she says, oh, I'm not feeling well, then it's like, okay, cool. I don't know if you're lying to me because you want to try to go on a date with somebody else and you want to keep me as a plan B backup or what. So I'm going to put it out there, and I might even add in a little bit of urgency and scarcity on top of that to make sure you understand this is your shot. And if you try to get out of it because you're like, oh, but I have a runny nose, then okay, cool. Like, I don't want to deal with you. Because if you actually wanted to see me, you would go anyway, right? If you had a runny nose, but you had tickets to the Taylor Swift concert, wouldn't you go? I mean, you and I probably wouldn't, but she would, right? So then it's a question of how much do you want to go? And if she actually wants to go and see you, if she actually wants to go on that date, then she'll show up, won't she? So, but you can't say that. You can't say that. That's the important bit here, is that whenever you're shit testing her, you can't say the obvious thing. Whenever you say the obvious thing, whenever you call out the game that you're playing, whenever you call out that like, oh, I know that you're playing a game and so I'm playing the game too. When you call that out, it's over. That's the whole thing, is that it has to feel like you're doing a bit of push and pull there. It's no fun if there's no push and pull. It's like saying, oh, well, why are you playing on a swing? You're not going to get anywhere, right? Like, you can go up as high as you want, but you're still going to come right back here. Like, well, don't ruin it, right? Have fun with the push and pull. And so don't actually call out, I think you're bullshitting, unless you're ready to just throw down the gauntlet and say, cool, I'm calling it out now. And it's either a yes or no, you're in or you're out. But ultimatums don't work well. Ultimatums are basically just you throw in a hissy fit and you're going to leave empty-handed. Well, you're going to leave with your dick in your hand instead of in hers. So don't do that. Use these techniques instead of just calling it out directly. The next one, that's too far. I should clarify, this is about distance. This is not about escalation. This is about distance. So if she says something like, oh yeah, I really want to go on the date, but like, I just looked it up on the map and like, that's really far. And so like, I don't really want to, like it's like an hour away. Okay. A couple of things you can do here, right? What's the obvious response? What's the first thought response? What's the nice guy response? The nice guy response is, oh yeah, it is kind of far. It's okay. Here, how about we change the location? How about we meet somewhere else? Let's meet somewhere closer to you. Let's meet somewhere more convenient for you. Okay. Don't do that. Actually, as we go through these, I'm just going to give you the nice guy response first so that we can say, okay, clearly we're not going to do this one, because if it's nice, then it's polite. If it's polite, then it's common. And if it's common, then it's boring. And if it's boring, then you're dead. She's gone. She's lost interest. So don't ever do the nice guy thing. Now, you might find a better way to frame it, to make it funnier, to make it sillier, to make it more interesting, something like that. For something like this, that's too far. She's complaining about the distance to your apartment, to the place that you've chosen, to the bar, to the venue, to the whatever. Okay, cool. A couple of things that I would do here is, one, I would probably use the urgency and scarcity here instead of trying to agree and amplify or flip the script or anything like that. Because trying to do that, you would say like, oh, if you think it's far for you, I should tell you how far it is for me, or something like that. I don't love that. I don't love that. That doesn't really get to the heart of it. Instead, I would point out what an excellent opportunity it is. Something that she'll never have a chance to experience again. Because just like before, remember, if the Taylor Swift concert were an hour away, she would make it, wouldn't she? So why? Because it's a once in a lifetime experience to her. Or it doesn't have to be Taylor Swift. She's just in the news right now, right? It could be anybody. It could be BTS or some other bullshit, right? But the point is, if it was something she really wanted to do, then she would be willing to make the trip. So you need to increase the perceived value of whatever it is that you're going to do. And say like, yeah, listen, I know there are other bars. There are other closer bars. There are other more convenient bars. But you've never been to a bar like this. You've never had gin and tonics poured for you 4 at a time as you sit under a huge painting of Van Gogh's beautiful face where he can only show one ear because the other one's missing. You've never had this experience. And for any of you who know, I'm describing the nastiest, dingiest dive bar that used to be my absolute favorite place until it closed down. If she complains about the distance, then that means you need to increase the perceived value to her. What's special about it? If she's coming over to your place, why? What is she getting? Is she getting, I used to ask girls over for my world famous 4-cheese baked spaghetti. And listen, you're never going to have this opportunity again because there's not even a restaurant in Korea that makes spaghetti this damn good. And whether there is or isn't, doesn't matter, does it? It's about the perceived value. It's about how she feels about it, right? It could just be like a 4 out of 10, like it's fucking spaghetti, right? You use sauce from a jar. How special is it? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter one bit. What matters is her perceived value. How valuable does she think it is? How special does she think it is? So if you're getting something like this about it being too far, then that means that you haven't yet done a good enough job of increasing her perceived value. Paul, could you bring that one up for me, please? She's checking if you can take care of her. Maybe. This is going to be dependent on, you're going to have to feel this out, right? Because she might be complaining about just, I don't want to travel that far. Or she might be complaining about, but if I'm out that far, I don't want to have to take a taxi home late at night. What's the plan after that? And so you're going to have to feel this one out to understand how to deal with it, whether it's a question or a shit test. If it's just a question of like, okay, but where are we going to stay after that? It's still kind of a shit test because she's basically saying like, are you going to invite me back to your place to do the bang, bang, a bangity bang? Or what? What are we going to do here? So you need to be prepared for that in either situation, but it is something where either way, you need to increase her perceived value so that it's worth it. Next up, it's too late, or this is like you're on a date and you're trying to get her home and she says, oh, no, it's too late. Or you have a date planned, but it's planned for like 9 p.m., which is, by the way, at least here in Korea, a great time to start a date, truly. But you're going to get some of these objections of, well, that's too late because, the last train is at like 11 or 11:30 or something like that. Or I have work in the morning, whatever it is. And where am I going to stay? My go-to is to send them a picture of my guest pillow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if she actually asks you, where am I going to stay? Say, oh, don't worry. I've already vacuumed the dog bed for you. Right? Like, oh, that is, by the way, that is incredible, pure indifference of just like, if you ask a stupid question, you're going to get a stupid answer, right? Which is a great strategy. And that's a good use of that. So the it's too late thing, whenever you get this kind of objection, if she's saying this before the date, then the good news is she's already thinking past the last train. She's already thinking about, well, we're going to stay out more than 2 hours then, aren't we? And so you can actually flip the script here, which would be a pretty effective move. You know, she says like, oh, 9 p.m., that's too late. You know, the last train is at 11:30. And then you flip the script a little bit and you say, what makes you think I want to hang out with you for more than 2 hours? Dang, girl, you must be very confident in your skills. Are you smooth? Are you like a Casanova? Are you a playgirl? Is that what you are? Oh, I knew it. And you flip the script on her because that's normally what the girl says, but you're doing it to her. This is great because it puts her on the back foot. It puts her on the defensive. Another thing that you can do with it is you can indifference or agree and amplify. These are different ways of dealing with it. The indifference version is to just be like, yeah, I know the nighttime is the right time. Come on, it's party time. Let's go. And you just not even dealing with your concerns or your questions. This is just the next thing that happens. Come on, get in the car, bitch. We're going to party or whatever. Or the agree and amplify is like, oh, don't worry, we're not going to be taking last train. We're going to be partying until the first train. So you may as well go ahead and call in sick to your work right now for tomorrow morning because that's not going to happen. And you go the other direction with it. You make it seem like it's way more than it actually is. And that's going to make her feel like, because the idea of partying till 6 a.m., then if you actually only party till about 12 or 1, oh, by comparison, yeah, this is an easy night. This is a light night, right? Next up, I'm too busy this week, this month, this year, this fiscal quarter, whatever, right? Look, the best way to deal with this one is absolutely scarcity, because that's what she's using on you. She's using scarcity on you. And you need to mix scarcity with indifference here of just like, oh, yeah, totally get it. My calendar is totally booked up as well. So tell you what, here, how about this? I'll have my secretary call your secretary and we can pencil in a date, you know, sometime in, I can probably do the weekend before the 4th of July. Does that sound good to you? Oh, you haven't planned that far ahead yet? Oh, goodness, right? And that's a little bit of agree and amplify along with the scarcity. And so you can play with these a little bit. You can mix and match as you like. But the important thing here is that if she says something like, I'm too busy, then you need to make it clear that, like, you've got one shot with me. If you wait another month before we hang out, I will have forgotten you. You can't say that. You want her to feel it because the words don't mean much. If somebody, it's the same way that we've talked about other things before. If you have to tell somebody you're smart, you're not smart. If you have to tell somebody you're funny, you're not funny. If you have to tell someone that if they don't see you this month, then you will have forgotten about them, then you're going to be pining over them for the next year, right? So same thing here is you want to show, don't tell. You can use this. You can use the indifference. You can say, oh, okay, cool. No worries. Well, then on to the next. And then wait, hold on. What? The next what? Yeah. I mean, like, I'm looking for somebody to go on a date with this weekend. You said you can't. So your replacement is, oh, there she is. She's walking by right now. See you later. Oh my God. Wait, what? Now, all of a sudden, you've not only used the indifference, but you've used urgency and scarcity as well. And you're creating a fear of missing out in her. You create that FOMO inside of her. And all of a sudden, it's going to be amazing. You're going to find out the schedule can be moved around. We can make this work somehow if she actually wants to see you. By the way, this is a very important thing that I forgot to bring up earlier. But with all of these things, with all of these shit tests, if they're happening before the date happens, there is also a non-zero chance. There is a very reasonable chance that she's just making excuses because she doesn't want to go on a date with you, which is fine, right? So it's totally possible to be handed one of these tests and to pass it perfectly, to say the exact right thing, to follow everything exactly right, to be completely congruent in everything, and she's still not interested. And that's okay, because when that happens, then she wasn't interested in the beginning, right? Remember what I said at the very beginning about what a pass and a fail looks like? If you failed, then she would keep kind of fucking with it a little bit and keep poking at it. But if you do it right, if you do it right, or if you do it wrong, it doesn't matter. And then if she just says, okay, cool, and then she walks away and that's it, then she wasn't interested from the beginning, right? Same thing for these other things that are like, oh, we're on a date and I'm trying to go home with you, but she's giving you some of these excuses, some of these reasons, and everything goes fine, but she still doesn't go with you. It's probably just because she didn't actually want to. Maybe she thought she might be interested, but then she wasn't. Maybe the date's not going that well. If you pass it, she usually mentions she isn't interested. Yeah, right. So if you pass the test and she's still not going to go, then she'll say she's not interested. That's exactly right, Coot. All right. So I'm too busy this week or month. You're going to use urgency, scarcity, maybe a bit of indifference in there. Or this might actually be a fun chance to use intentional misunderstanding. Whenever she says something like, "Oh, I'm not available this Saturday for our date at 9:00," and you say, "Oh, I get it. You want to change it back to our original plans of Thursday night. Okay, cool. Awesome. Perfect. You know what? I was just about to book somebody for Thursday night, but you got there first. Lucky girl." And you intentionally misinterpret what she's saying, and you're kind of pushing her the direction that you want her to go, which is a good way to deal with this as well. Next up is logistics related. This one is a little bit difficult because there's so many different variables here. Maybe she doesn't like the place. Maybe you offer to pick her up and she says, "Oh, no, I'll just meet you there, or I'll just follow you there," or something like that. Or maybe she's complaining about the convenience of the location. In all of these logistics related issues, I would say that this comes back to very much the same thing as that's too far, where you just need to increase the value proposition, right? What is she getting? Because she might not like the place, but if she's getting something amazing for it, or if it's her one chance to have this thing, and you can increase the FOMO, or if you can increase the urgency or the scarcity, or if you can commiserate with her and be like, I know, listen, I also hate this place, but we're going to see. Do you know what we're going to see? We're going to see DJ Khaled, but we get to see him twice. Do you know why? Because there's always another one, right? Or some bullshit like that. You can have some fun with it. Increase the urgency, scarcity, increase the value proposition, increase why she wants or why she should want to do the thing that you're trying to direct her towards. So in a situation, I had somebody ask me about this, and he said, I invited a girl out on a date and I told her I would pick her up at this time. And she said that she just wanted to meet me there or to follow me there. And what do I do in that situation? Honestly, man, whenever it comes to something like that, to driving, that's gonna feel a lot like safety to her. I don't think that in any of these situations or with any of these strategies that you would ever want her to feel even slightly unsafe. And so if it's an important thing to her, if she says, no, I'll meet you there. She wants to have an escape route planned in case you're crazy or something like that. That's a very real worry for women, especially in, Jesus, the guy who asked me this is in America, in California, in 2023. Look, everybody there's fucking crazy. I wouldn't let somebody pick me up. So, kind of understand her on that one. However, what you can do in that situation is you can say, actually, do you know what? That's a great idea, because it's going to be really tough to drive to the next place after dinner if we're both drinking. So how about this? Instead, what we'll do is, one of us, I'll be the DD, like we'll get there. And then if we're having a good time, then, you can have some drinks and I'll have like one, but I'll have to stay safe. And then we can move on to the next place where we'll both be able to drink, right? Or something like that. You can kind of play with it a little bit. You're going to have to massage that one, but be careful that you aren't taking away her feelings of safety and security. Because the second that you try to interrupt that, the only question in her mind is going to be why? Why would you take that away from me? Because it sounds like you're trying to do something, and that's going to send up alarms in her head. So I wouldn't try to push too hard on that one. Our next one here is we need to know each other more, or we need to talk more before we meet. Okay, this one is absolutely, you just meet this one head on, right? You don't need, you can use humor, right? Like you can agree and amplify here. You could say something like, oh, no. I totally agree. In fact, do you know what? It's probably better if we don't even meet in person until the wedding day, right? That way it'll just be like a traditional wedding, just like mommy and daddy always wanted for us, right? And even though they didn't set us up, we can still pretend, can't we? And we can have this like a blind date until the very day of our matrimony. And you know what? Even then, let's wear blindfolds. Let's keep them on the whole time, right? It'll just make it that much more exciting when we wake up married together. You could agree and amplify. I think that the better move here is actually just to meet it head on and say, yeah, I totally agree. We do need to get to know each other better. We do need to talk more. But for me, that doesn't happen through text. I'm too busy to check my phone all the time. I don't even use social media. So we're going to meet in person and develop a real connection there. So how about this place on this day at this time? We can talk there. That's honestly what I would do in this situation. That's not one of these strategies. This is one of the very few situations where you can just block it. Just say, nope, not even happening. The reason why is because anybody who wants to push off meeting and push off meeting and push off meeting and push off meeting, she's never going to meet, right? Like she's just wasting your time. She just wants some attention. If she's not going to meet, then she's not going to meet. So to me, this one is actually a red line of like, I'm not dealing with this shit. Either you want to meet up and talk or you don't. Now there's, some exception to be made if it's like there's a long distance thing going on, right? Like you and I have talked about this a little bit where it's like, okay, well, the girl is like 200 miles away. And so maybe she doesn't want to plan a whole weekend to come and visit me just yet. Okay, fine. I'm willing to entertain a little bit of that in extreme circumstances of terrible logistics. But for the most part, if a girl is saying something like, we need to get to know each other better, or we need to talk more before we meet up, and she's not willing to move on that, then I'm just, next. See you later. Next up. We're just friends. We're just friends. Are you asking me on a date? But we're just friends. Okay. Red alert. You have fucked up massively. And I don't mean by asking her on the date. I mean, you fucked up everything up until this point. And this is the first smart thing that you did. If you asked her on a date and she's giving you the just friends line, you have literally fucked up everything else beforehand. And now you have finally, oh, there they are, found your balls and decided to stand up and say what you actually thought. Good for you. I'm very glad. However, you are now facing, uphill doesn't even begin to describe it. It's a Sisyphean task to try and escape the friend zone, especially if this has been going on, if you've been talking for more than, I'd say 2 weeks. If you've been talking for less than 2 weeks, maybe there's still a little wiggle room there, but any longer than 2 weeks, and she has squarely put you into the nope, never gonna fuck him bucket. So if this happens, if you get a response like this, but we're just friends, you have only one possible response that can actually work and get you what you want. You can give other responses. You can do like an agree and amplify kind of thing. You can be like, yeah, we're like the best of friends. That's why like we gotta hang out, because like we're just super cool friends. And like maybe there might even be some benefits to being friends. Or like you could try some stupid bullshit like that. But this one, just like the previous one, is honestly one that you have to meet head on. And you have to say, whoa, hold on a second. I mean, I'm friendly. Yeah, of course. But I'm not interested in going on a date with a friend. Actually, I don't need any more friends. I have plenty of those. However, there is one position that I currently have available, and that is the girl I'm going on a date with this Saturday night. And that's what I'm asking you to be. So if you're not interested in that position, hey, no problem. No hard feelings. I don't mind. But if you do want to go out, if this does sound like a really good time, because this is what we're planning to do, and if that does sound fun to you and you want to go on the date with me, excellent. We can plan that and we can figure that out. However, I want to make this very clear. We are not just friends. It doesn't mean that we're boyfriend, girlfriend, but it just means that we're actually open to seeing where things go. We cool? We on the same page? I would meet that one absolutely head on. I would not, don't make any bones about it. Don't shy away from calling it a date. Don't try to say like, oh, but like if I'm friends with her first, then maybe I can like, don't try to beta male your way in. Like, you may as well just be a male feminist at that point, where you're like, oh, I think I'm going to go to rallies with all the girls who have dreadlocks and tattoos, because then maybe one of them will get drunk and touch my willy if I tell her that Black Lives Matter. Or like, fuck off. Get out of here, man. Like, stop trying to do that shit. Just tell her straight up. We're not friends. I'm not looking for any more friends. My friend stable is currently full. However, I do have an opening on Saturday night for a date with a girl. That would be you, as a man and a woman. Let's see here. What's Coot's comment here? Let's bring that one up. Calls are better than text. If she's too afraid to call, it's really next. Okay, yeah. So in your situation specifically, Coot, or like your other guys who are out there in the sticks, where you're talking to girls who are hundreds of kilometers away, yeah, you can. If you can get her off text onto calls, that's fine. And then you can plan to meet. You can plan to do something. One of my clients actually, he lives out in kind of the countryside in the U.S. Sorry, I got some ice. He lives out in the countryside in the U.S. and he had kind of a similar issue where everybody that he was interested in was living quite far away. And I was like, okay, first off, you have to get them off the app. You need to get them on texting or on WhatsApp or on whatever. It doesn't matter. Just anything else. And then here's what you do is you need to set up dates, but they're going to be FaceTime dates, and you can even play them as dates. You can say, okay, so here's what we're going to do. You can have like a long distance date, set something up with her. And you can say like, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to FaceTime together. And then we're both going to cook the same thing together over this. And we're going to talk and we're going to eat together and we're going to have a good time together, just because we can't be there, but we can still treat it like a date. I would do everything in my power to make it feel like a date, not a chat, because a chat is common. And remember what common is. Common is boring. So while FaceTime or even a phone call is better than text, I feel like a FaceTime date is better than that, which is still significantly below an actual in-person date, right? Quantum mechanics, multiple states exist. Is she your friend? No. Is she your girlfriend? No. That really confused nerds. And look, think of it. All right. This one's for the nerds then. Cool. Think of it like Schrodinger's woman, right? Is she your girlfriend? Maybe, maybe not. Is she just a friend? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. And until observed, it's like Schrodinger's cat. Until it's exactly. Look at this on the same wavelength, huh? Okay, good. Yeah. Like you like me responding and talking without touching the keyboard. It's magic. It's Harry Potter magic. I'm using me lucky charms. All right. So that's enough of the just friends thing. Next one is this one. I'm not looking for a boyfriend right now. This is one where I would usually, my first instinct here would be flip the script. I would be like, oh, you're not looking for a boyfriend now? Perfect. I'm also not looking for a boyfriend right now. It would be really, really awkward if we were both looking for a boyfriend, but since we're not, that's perfect. This is the perfect setup. I love it. Excellent. Or you can do something like agree and amplify, where you say like, of course you're not. Like, I knew from the moment that I saw you wearing a Blink-182 t-shirt that you were a Netflix and chill kind of girl. Like, obviously, listen, I already have the popcorn popping back home. Let's, we can just go ahead and you can play with this one in so many different fun ways. This one also, pure indifference. You're like, oh, okay. Like, sorry, why are you telling me about boyfriend woes? It's kind of weird, but okay. Sure. All right. Neat. I'm also not looking for a pet rabbit. Whatever, right? And you just kind of play it off entirely. This one should not be a difficult shit test to pass. This one is probably one of the easiest ones because unless you have specifically said the words, I want to be your boyfriend, and then she responds, I'm not looking for a boyfriend right now. In that case, she's literally just saying, I'm not interested, but I might still be open to banging, right? So if she says that, then if she says, I'm not looking for a boyfriend now, then that's still on the table. Use that. Play with that. You would have to try really hard to fuck this one up. So the nice guy response to this one, the one that you definitely don't want to do is like, oh, okay, well, like, I get it. Like, I understand. Like, when do you think that you might be ready for like a relationship or something? Obviously don't do that, right? But play with this however you like. You can use anything for this, right? You could even quite literally use misdirection and be like, oh, you're not looking for a boyfriend right now? Oh, watch out! Look over there! It's a boyfriend! Run away! Quick! Come here! Right? Like, there are a million ways to play with this one and to just keep it rolling and keep it fun. The next one down here. You bring all the girls here, don't you? Or whatever. Or you say this to all the girls. Or like, oh my God, I bet you use that line on all the girls, huh? Whatever kind of situation like that. Look, this is one where you can do a lot of things with this one. You can agree and amplify. You can say like, yeah, actually, you're number 33 today. Congratulations. That's a lucky number. Or you can flip the script a little bit and you can say like, well, why do you ask? Do all of your other boyfriends bring you here? Because that would be such a coincidence, right? Or you can go a completely different way. You can go with some scarcity or something like that. And you can say like, actually, only the really cool ones. And you seem like the kind of girl who can appreciate what's going on here. Maybe you're not. I don't know. Maybe you don't understand the allure of 4 for $10 cocktails. You can do a ton of things with this one, but what you never do is you never say, oh, no, definitely not. You could even go with pure indifference here, and it would work way better than that. You could just say, yeah. And then just keep on going. That works better than trying to deny and saying like, oh, no, like this is my first time here. Oh, no, I've never been here before. And then the bartenders are like, Jack, what's up? Right? Like, don't lie. You don't need to be fake. That's actually the opposite of the point here. The point of all of this stuff, the point of these shit tests is to find out if you're being fake. So then if you respond to them by being doubly fake, what are you doing? What if it really is your first time there? Even better. You say like, oh yeah, listen, I want to tell you the honest truth. I have brought every girl I've been on a date with this week here. I mean, you're the first date I've had this week, but still, I've brought every girl here. So you are technically correct. Like, anything except for, oh, no, definitely not that, right? The point of this question, what she's asking you with this question, is she's asking you, one, do you go on a lot of dates? Because I want you to be the kind of guy who can go on a lot of dates, but maybe or maybe not the kind of guy who does go on a lot of dates. And two, she's asking you, am I special or am I just one of the many, one of the few, the proud, the Marines? What am I here? She's trying to suss out by your reaction where she stands on all of this stuff and what you are. Because she's already gotten a read off of you. This is important. If she's asking this question, it's because she already has this feeling that there's something off, but you're giving her some feeling of like, maybe you go on lots of dates, maybe, and we're going to get to that one here in a minute. She wants to see, can you be honest? Can you be real? Or are you going to get like flustered and start going into like conniptions because you can't handle a question about your basic day-to-day life? So that's that. Anything other than no is the correct answer here. Take that back. Even if you're doing it like a pure indifference way, no, and then just keep on going. That can also be very effective, right? But again, this needs to match your style. If you're like me and if you're used to just talking we're at over an hour now of literally just me talking to a picture of myself on two different screens. This is some absolute crazy psychopath bullshit right here, right? But if you're like me and then all of a sudden she asks you a question and you shut down and you give one-word answers, then something seems off, right? Something seems incongruent. It seems different. And that's going to send up alarm bells in her head. So make sure that if you're going to use the pure indifference method, that it fits to your style. Next up, we've got talking about your exes, right? If a girl starts talking about her ex, a couple of ways to deal with this. One is just meeting it head on, right? Like this is what Coot suggested in the Discord where he said, I just ban all talk about exes, right? It's not fun and it just creates weird stuff. My style is more towards the let's make a joke of it. And if she says something, right? If she says something like, oh my God, like my ex used to bring me here all the time. Or like, you remind me so much of him. Like he was so funny. Like, oh, wait, hold on a second. What was his name? And then she tells you, and then you say, oh my God, that's literally my twin brother. Oh my God. Oh, he's going to be so excited when he finds out we're actually twins and Eskimo bros. What? Eiffel Tower, right? I would go way the other direction. I would make her feel so uncomfortable to talk about it that she would never do it again. And I would do it in a way that didn't demand it of her. Because like I said back at the beginning, when we were talking about ultimatums usually don't work well. Because ultimatums are like, hey, don't do this thing. This can work with certain personality types or about certain topics. However, it raises more questions than it answers, which is like, what are you uncomfortable about? Or why don't you want me to talk about this thing? Or some other stuff like that. So as a general rule, I try not to make demands or ultimatums, but instead I try to push a little bit more towards, I want to lead you to the answer that I want you to get. And I might do that through humor. I might do that through scarcity and urgency, which you could also employ in this situation. And you could be like, hey, by the way, listen, loving the conversation, loving the topics, all that stuff, right? But just so that you're aware, we have about an hour and a half until the last train. So if you want to spend the rest of your time talking about your ex, I suppose we can do that. I'll probably be doing it from the bar, but you know, if that's how you want to spend the time, the little time we have together, that's fine. And that's a lot more straightforward. That's a lot more aggressive form of what I was saying earlier. But you can do a lot of things with this without having to make exact demands or ultimatums. Or you could even flip the script and you could be like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Okay, cool. Is it time to complain about exes? Because I haven't been able to complain about this bitch for a while now. Do you want me to tell you a crazy story about some shit she did? Now listen, I mean, even though she was crazy, she did give great head. And then, oh, sorry, did that make you uncomfortable? You know what? It's probably better if we just leave exes out of it, right? You could flip the script there, and I may have gone a little too far in my example, but here's the thing, and this is very important to remember. Too far is always better than not far enough, because any problem created through audacity can be solved with more audacity, right? If you say something like that and you feel like, oh, I've kind of crossed the line here, I've gone a little bit too far. You mentioned something about how your ex gave great head, whatever. And she's like, oh my God, you talk about how your ex gave great head. And you're like, oh, I could either back off and say, oh, I'm sorry, like I went a little too far with that. Or you could double down and be like, wait, hold on a second. Did you think I was a virgin? Right? And you can extrapolate forward and double down on the audaciousness of it. Because like, of course she sucked your dick, right? You make it the most obvious thing in the world. We're like, did you not think that? Okay, right. So don't be afraid of audacity. Sabi, did you just now arrive? Cheers, buddy. You get a late cheers. All right. Next up. Are you a player or a fuckboy? This one is very similar to the other one about you bring all the girls here. You say that to all the girls. You ask all the girls for their numbers, whatever else. This one's very similar in form and fashion, and also in response, where like, now I get a feeling that you're a player. Are you just a player? Like, you can agree and amplify. You can be like, I'm so tired of answering this question. You know, you're the 5th date I've been on today that's asked me this. Hurry up, because number 6, I'm sure, is going to ask me the same question, right? More audacity, right? Or you flip the script and you're like, oh my God, are you one of those girls who dates lots of guys so you can read us really well? Is that what's going on here? Like, oh, are you in like the triple, quadruple digits? Oh, geez, right? And you turn it around, or you can go pure indifference and you can be like, oh, yeah. Anyway, you can do that however you want, or intentional misunderstanding, be like, I don't know how you knew this, but I am a player. Like, I usually don't tell girls about this until like the 3rd or 4th date, but I used to be the top ranked player in the world in StarCraft, and just watch them like absolute fun to be had here. Or, I suppose you could do some urgency or scarcity and be like, look, until you prove that you're worth it, I'm not yours. It's just your turn. And that is like a scarcity mixed with a pure indifference kind of thing, which you can do, but that requires solid frame. Like you have to be the unmovable mountain of frame to be able to pull something like that off. But either way, you should be able to play with this enough. The most important thing to remember through all of these different examples that I gave you is that most of the time, essentially treating her like a child whenever she asks a stupid question so she gets a stupid answer. You're playing it off because it's ridiculous, right? Like if a girl came to me and asked me something like, do you still live in your mom's basement? What? It's such a ridiculous question that I would use one of these things to answer, right? That's the basis of all of this stuff is what happens if somebody asks you a question that's so ridiculous on its face that it doesn't deserve an honest, straightforward answer. And that's what you need to keep in mind. So whether they're giving you objections about like, oh, that's too far away, or if they're saying like, oh, are you just one of those players? Do you bring a different girl here every week? Like, if they're asking you stupid questions, same thing. You give them a stupid answer, and you can choose how to do it. You can choose what fits your style the best. You can play with this a lot. There are a million different ways to answer any of these things. But the most important thing to remember is to not be scared. Never be scared to answer any of these questions because they are stupid questions. And so whenever she asks you something, she says something like, oh my God, so like, when was the last time you had sex? That's also a shit test. It's not here in the examples. So I want you to tell me in the comments, which of these techniques would you use to answer that question? If a girl asks you, when was the last time you had sex? What are you going to do? How are you going to answer that question? So far, I've taught you 6 different techniques of how to deal with shit tests, of how to deal with objections. We've gone through 10 or 12 different examples and used all of these different examples throughout. So how would you, in your style, answer these questions? If you're not sure about how to answer these questions, then what I highly recommend you do is go over to realjacknorth.com right now, where you can sign up for a free call with me, and I will help you to figure out your own style and your own dating strategy to make sure that you're always able to answer these questions. Or maybe you're just one of those tourists who didn't join us for the cheers. It's okay. I'll forgive you the first time only. But what you ought to do is click the link in the top of the description right now where you can get a completely free ebook to learn all about the 14 types method, to start learning about the different types of girls. And then you're going to start understanding why these different techniques for these different questions work differently on different types of women, because you're going to understand naturally who they are, and you'll be able to pick them out in the wild as you go through your life. So if any of that sounds good to you, then you should either click the link down below for your free ebook or go to realjacknorth.com right now, sign up for a free call with me. Now, with all that said, that was a long ass lesson, wasn't it? An hour 13. God damn it. Okay, well, Paul is an absolute hero for sticking around through that whole thing. And I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say once we get in here. But go ahead and bring yourself in, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was an interesting one.
I just now saw Sabi's comment. Can you bring that one up? It says, like making fun of it, Jack.
Yeah, it was in relation to they're talking about exes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of ways that you can deal with things like that. And I like Xbox. Okay, yeah. Last week's I've been too busy being a nerd this week. Last week's I've been too busy being a nerd this week. Do you understand what he's talking about?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Uh,
Then we are not different in that.
but I thought it was really interesting, and like I was thinking through like the ways I would respond personally to most of these.
Hmm.
So I think what the thing that could be cool now is like just on the fly now, just you pick a couple of them, and then I'll just respond like what my actual responses would be.
Absolutely. All right. Here, let's do this. That's too far. You ask a girl to go on a date with you, and then she says, "Oh, but home day. That's too far."
Oh, you don't have a magic teleporter?
You don't have
Works
a
every time.
What? Are you still living in like the 21st century or some bullshit? Oh shit! Did my time machine not? Sometimes the accuracy is not 100% perfect.
Yeah, stuff like just going that route, it just works every time.
So that's actually a really good example of a redirection or a misdirection. I like that as an example. What did Coot just say? You said, Jack North, you said to answer the last shit test, when was the last time you had sex? So I did. Oh, last week. I've been too busy being a nerd this week. Okay.
Now it makes sense.
I like that. All right.
Uh,
So
I would not another one for the I'm not feeling too well for the cold flu thing, because this one I've actually used and it worked perfectly. And my response was just,
hold on. Do me a favor.
Hmm?
Tell the response and then tell the story of the time that you used it, because I need to get a refill.
Yeah, sure. So to the question of like I'm not feeling too well, or like and her trying to cancel, I just responded, perfect. I was craving chicken soup for breakfast, so I'll see you at 8.
I do
And
like that.
and what it turned out that she was like, oh, that's cool. And then she's like, okay, but what about tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, we'll just call in sick, no problem. And then she came out and we went on our date just as we were supposed to. Everything, nothing changed, except she was already thinking past the date. So she had decided that like we are going home to my place after we're done, and we are having chicken soup tomorrow. And just the actual date went just perfectly because from the second I send a message like that, she's already decided that okay, if I'm going on this date, I am staying at his place, so I don't have to actually work for it anymore. Like the whole thing is just decided. However, doing responses like that can also swing the other way, and they say just no. But in my experience, more often than not, they will just agree with it if they actually have any interest in you whatsoever. So I think that is a very decent way to respond. Just actually take it into something that is you use the chicken soup for breakfast thing to like acknowledge that she's not might not be feeling well, and like you're gonna take care of her, but we are still going on this date. A couple of the other ones that I like have very specific answers to is like whenever someone calls or asks me if I'm a playboy or a fuckboy, I will go one out of two ways, which is either I will respond by just saying, "Yeah, aren't you?" and just flip it over on her because I know the type of people that I'm seeing. Or if they're on the more like playful but serious, then I will go with hold up for a second. I prefer the term womanizer. And it works every time. Because then you're already like, okay, we've accepted the fact that yes, I am a player, but hey, you're not allowed to call me a player. You can call me a womanizer, that's fine.
Did you just use the P word? Only a player can call another player player.
Exactly.
Playa. You use the hard R too. Have a good time with it.
Yeah, I think that's one
Absolutely.
of the most important things.
Well, if here's the thing is that if you're having fun, if you're expressing your personality through your humor, through your answers, through the way that you're talking and acting and treating her and all of that, that is naturally attractive. That's why these techniques and these different answers work. But this is why they work for me, but they might not work for somebody else. Is because they're part of your personality and you're bringing her into your world. Because it's like Aladdin. You're here to show her a whole new world. She's just riding on the magic carpet. She's not doing shit. Sorry, could you bring that back up? I'll read it. Food is excellent. I did use duck breast to make a girl teleport to day job. Something about teleporting breasts. I'm not sure, but yeah.
I think it was a response to like how I use the chicken soup with girls that are not feeling well.
Yeah.
Um, Another one that I saw that is, I have a very specific answer to those, which is like, do you take everyone here? Yeah. Well, I haven't received a written complaint yet.
Yeah.
And for the girls that are talking about their exes, this one I use every time someone brings up their ex. It's just, so hold up a second. I have a 3-month trial period, and then you're going to get a comparison sheet, and then you're going to have to fill out a quiz.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of it. Never heard any more about the ex-boyfriend.
I like this. Like, by the way, you're also going to be getting a performance review after 3 months, so make sure you're on your best behavior too. One thing that I used to do intentionally was I would take all of the girls I dated for more than like 3 or 4 dates. I would intentionally take them to the same place, but I would make a point of it, and I would tell them beforehand, because there was this this restaurant in my neighborhood, and it was on the first floor of the building that I lived on, and I used to go there all the time. And it was just this old lady who would just cook home cooked style food, and I would talk with her all the time, and she was always asking me about my relationships and like when I was going to get married and if I was going to have kids, whatever else. And we actually developed a pretty good relationship. And so I would bring girls I was dating there to be tested by her. And I would tell them that. And I would say, now listen, this place is called Oma Bapsang. It literally means like mom's table, mom's kitchen table. And I would tell them, I'm going to bring you to this place and you have to impress Oma, because she's going to talk to you. She's going to ask you questions. And then after you leave, once our date today is done, she's going to tell me whether I should keep you around or whether I should kick you to the curb. So you better make a good impression. And the girls would they would lose their mind. They were like, wait, is it really your mom? And I was like, it's my Korean mom. Close enough. Yeah. And then they were like, wait, so will you really listen to her? And I was like, oh, 100%. Whatever she tells me to do, I'm going to do that. Because look, she hasn't fucked up yet, right? She's been right every time.
Yeah, that's right.
So to answer that question about do you bring all the girls here? Sometimes the correct answer is yes, intentionally so. Or even if it's like a bar or something, you can say, yeah, I absolutely do. Because I want to make sure before we go on any more dates that you can get along with my friends, or that my favorite bartender likes you, or that whatever else, or that you're good at beer pong, right? You can actually use a yes there to create more reasons to drive her further. That's essentially creating urgency or scarcity, because you're making her barrier to entry higher than she thought it was.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that's also a very good thing. How about What do you do if a girl says she's on her period?
Who gives a shit?
Right?
So it depends. Is it during the date, or like is it at the point where we're going home, or is it before the date starts?
If it's before the date starts. I
Well,
mean, does it change your answer at all?
it would change my answer because if it's on the date, it's gonna be person to person. Like I'm gonna be talking. While it's if it's the pre the date, like she's trying to use it to cancel.
Hmm.
It's a little bit different, right? Because one is trying to is one is her anti-slut defense, and the other one is I might not be interested in you, right? So
Right.
I think like I tend to treat them a little differently. For the one pre-date, my answer would be just perfect. There we have half a Bloody Mary. I've heard alcohol kills the pain, and that for some reason, even though it sounds disgusting,
Um,
like because of the second part of the answer, which is I've heard alcohol kills the pain,
yeah.
they're already thinking about we're gonna be drinking.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they've
yeah.
forgotten about the first half of the sentence.
Right. Yeah. So I actually like that a lot better than the Roosh V version of like, I'm a vampire, I'll drink the blood, which again is a textbook agree and amplify. But I just don't like it because to me it's too gross and too graphic.
Yeah.
Like as a general rule, going too graphic is not a good idea. The same way that if she says something like, oh, you want to go back to your place? Well, if you want to go back to your place, like, what are we going to do there? You can, and the the better answer is to kind of actually, this is a good point to redirect, is to be like, I told you we're going to walk my dog. Don't get dirty thoughts in your head now, okay? I'm a very good Christian boy. And that's a redirection done right. Or a flip the script. It's kind of both. But if you go direct there and you say, listen, I'm going to bend you over and I'm going to fuck you doggy style till the sun comes up. It's like, if it fits your style and if it fits that girl's type, this can work.
Well, in that
But
case, I
as a
think
general rule, I wouldn't go as graphic as that.
okay. So there are two types of girls like that actually works with.
Mm.
That would be the types that are like you're on the date and they are already getting quite physical. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
are in it. Like you know they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Like that is the one type. And whenever you have like little more subtle one, which is she is still okay to be physical, but you have to initiate. But when you do, she does things like biting your lip and like showing you her kinks.
Yeah.
Then like
If
to her you can just tell this is exactly what we're gonna do, and then you do that. And then you have
if
to
she
follow up.
is actively pushing towards sex,
Yeah,
then that question has a completely different meaning
exactly.
than if you say, "Oh, let's go back over to my place," and she hasn't shown you any of those things yet, right? So this is why earlier I was saying you need to be able to read the situation. You need to understand when to use these different things because there's a time for all of them. Right? There's a time for the direct approach. There's a time for the misdirection. There's a time for the agree and amplify. But you need to be able to read the social situation to understand the context behind any one of these statements or questions.
Yeah. The other half of the period question. Uh,
Sorry.
my answer to that is again also dependent on what I just said about whether or not they are pushing for it, but they think they want to be validated that it's not dirty,
Yeah,
or they're like then it's like the one is for validation that asking me if I am fine with it, and the other one is their anti-slut defense, right? Like there are two versions of this.
sure.
For the one that is validating that I'm fine with it,
Mhm.
then I will just lean over and just whisper in their ear and say, "Hey, I've heard about this amazing thing. It's called shower sex.
Yeah, yeah,
Works
exactly.
every time." Like if they're there, like if they already are thinking about going to your place, that will work every time.
Mm. Yeah.
For the other one, it's just okay.
Right.
That's
So
human.
actually, that's a really good point that follows up on what I was just saying about the context matters completely. Because if she says, I'm on my period before the date, then that's her trying to get out of the date. If she says it in the middle of the date, then it's like, okay, you want me to have this information for some reason. So something's on your mind. Or if she says that when you're asking her to go home, then that's a totally different situation, right? So in that third situation, it's just like, look, we both know we're going to bang tonight, but just so you know, right? Just fair warning. Lay a towel down, or let's bang in the shower, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like where she's already comfortable with it, she already knows. But she says, by the way, just so you know, I'm on my period. So, like, the same sentence in all these different contexts brings out different answers. And so this is why the first thing I did in today's live stream was go through the different strategies, because you're going to use different strategies in different contexts, even for the exact same sentence. It's just, and for the exact same girl, it's just in a different context, right?
Yeah.
So understanding these things is really important. Oh, I just remembered something I totally forgot to say at the very beginning of the stream that I meant to put in. Well, this is going to get recorded for posterity, and we're going to clip this guy in. Listen, one of the most important reasons why a girl will shit test you is because she's giving you a chance to show your emotional intelligence. There are a ton of ways to show that you lack emotional intelligence, but it's very difficult to find ways to actively show that you do have emotional intelligence. And so oftentimes a girl will give you shit tests, even though she doesn't really care about the answer, just to see, how do you respond to this particular situation? Do you understand social contexts, social cues? Do you have solid social and emotional intelligence? And so honestly, if a girl is giving you these shit tests, that's a really good thing, because she's giving you the chance to show something that otherwise it's really hard to build into your conversations and dates. So you should appreciate that and make the most of them.
Yeah, that is actually a very good point, that the shit tests are primarily her saying to you that I am interested in you. This is for you to fuck up.
Yeah, right. Like almost every one of these shit tests, unless, right? Because like,
again,
as I
pre, during dates, different
yeah,
type of
exactly.
shit tests.
Before the dates, if she gives you one of these and then you pass the shit test, but then she just says, yeah, but here's the thing, it's like, actually, I'm just not that interested. Then, okay, that's fine. But if she's giving you one of these shit tests, especially during the date, then more than likely she's just giving you an opportunity to show a bit more about yourself, or she's trying to check some parts of you to see, like, this guy seems like he knows what's up, but like, does he or does he not? I don't know. Let's see. And so it could be any number of things, but it's an excellent opportunity. And so you should learn how to deal with all of these things, whether it's in a humorous or serious way. It doesn't matter. The point is, you should be congruent to yourself, to who you are, and to your style, so that she gets a better feel for who you are. The only thing that you can't do is fail them, is say what the average guy would say, right? That's the only thing you should never do.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what? I feel like in my experience, sorry, did we just get a new comment?
Yes.
Okay, bring that one up for me. Do you guys fail tests more when you're less interested in her? No, you pass them more because you don't give a shit.
Yeah, that's very natural thing. Like the less you care, the easier the tests are.
Yeah, of course, of course. Um, when you don't care, right? Like, so one of the strategies here is pure indifference, right? And if you just straight up don't care, then you're adding that in to literally everything that you do, and it's an amazing aphrodisiac. By the way, this is one of the reasons that girls tend to be more attracted to guys who are taken than guys who are single. Like, yes, there's the social proof factor. There's the, well, if other girls will fuck him, then there's got to be something to him factor, right? But even beyond that, there's the way that you act. Because when you're taken, when you have a girlfriend or you have a wife or you have plenty of fuck buddies or whatever it is, whatever the situation is, when you have that, you just don't give a shit. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, oh, well, here's the answer that I know you're gonna like, so here, have it. Bleh. And so even when you're agreeing and amplifying or flipping the script, you're also injecting some genuine, heartfelt, pure indifference.
Yeah,
I straight up do not care about you.
and that is also why we often say that you should treat them like your little sister, simply because you probably would treat her with the same indifference in these type of questions.
Right. Exactly. And this also goes to this goes well to why are age gaps more attractive than people who are close in age? And it's like, oh, well, because if you're older than me, I'm not going to treat you as a serious romantic partner. And if you're younger than me, like, again, substantially, then like I'm not going to treat you as a serious sexual partner. And both of those, even though they're different, both of them, they come from the same place of, I just don't care. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to be the one that you want. Right? Like, I don't give a shit. And that thing can be extremely attractive because it drives people to say, like, well, wait. What is it that he's not liking about me? What is it that I don't have that this other girl has, right? Or whatever else. And they get self-conscious and they get focused on things like that. And so all of this stuff, this treating her as a younger sister or flirting with old women is literally the key to getting whatever the fuck you want in life. If you learn how to playfully flirt with old women, listen, I've gotten jobs because I was playfully flirting with the hiring manager who was a female. I've gotten upgraded on flights because I was playfully flirting with the old lady who was behind the desk. I've gotten better service in the bank. I've got, like, anything you want in life. If you can learn how to flirt playfully with the old lady, then, and not in a patronizing manner, right? Like, not like to your grandmother, but like as if your grandmother's friend was like, you know what? I've never seen a gilf in person, but after enough drinks, I just might. Sorry, can you bring that one up? Why is the name shit test? Is it because of the questions or the response? Which is more shitty? The questions, 100%. But actually,
It's because they're testing you if you know your shit, basically.
exactly. Or they're testing if you are shit, right? As well. Like, they are testing you to see, are you solid or are you made of bullshit? Is this all just like a facade? Did you go to some shitty pickup guru and you bought a $99 course that taught you a few pickup lines that seem really smooth at first, but then as soon as we start talking, you lose all ability to continue on? If so, I'm not interested. Which, by the way, fun fact, is why I don't teach any of that stuff. And in fact, I teach deep understanding because I believe in better dating through better understanding. trademark pending. And if you would like better dating through better understanding, I highly recommend you click the link at the top of the description below and get your free guide to the 14 types method, where you can learn about all 14 different types of women, and you can learn what is important to them, what drives them psychologically, and how you can actually succeed with them in your life. Sorry, plug is finished. Go on.
I was like, when I'm reading that question, I was thinking there's this Finnish comedian over in America, and he has this thing about the whole word shit. Might be one of the most used, variedly used words in English language. And I think they could relate here to, like, why is it named shitless? Because he's testing if you're the shit or a shit.
Yeah. Or if you're full of bullshit, right? Exactly. Or if you're going to shit your pants. Listen, English is a magnificent language because of its versatility, right? We can use any word in any context and we can find a way to make it fit. I just learned something yesterday. I learned that now the kids these days, like TikTok kids, right? They've replaced the crying laughing emoji with a chair emoji. I don't fucking know why. I assume it's something like I fell off my chair laughing, and so now the chair is empty, right? But that's like, English is just a ridiculously versatile language that literally changes entirely, like a snake shedding its skin every 10 years or so. And all of the past stuff still remains as well. Yeah. Right? And so it's an insane language for a lot of reasons. Like, if you look at this symbol, depending on your age, you're either going to say that symbol is the word pound, or that symbol is the word number, or that symbol is the word hashtag. And all three of those are absolutely correct at some point within the last 30 years, which is wild.
Yeah. We have some questions from the kid.
Bring it in. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we have time to do those two, and then we're going to be about wrapping up.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you're on a date with a girl and she mentions that she has plans in 2 hours to go see her friends or something of similar nature? My first thought is that you fucked up planning the date because you didn't put it late enough that she could still have other plans. Yeah. That is my first response to that. However, if you have a late date planned anyway, say you started at 9 p.m. And you would normally think that that is late enough. But she goes like, oh, we're going to this concert in some club at 1 a.m. Okay, then you still fucked up. You should have known. But also you fucked up if you took her to the place where you know her friends frequent. I've done this a couple times where I've had girls try to move dates from other locations back to Hongdae because I know that's where all their friends are going to be. Okay. So I deliberately make sure that the date is not in Hongdae. And then, yeah, because first of all, it's simply because I don't, like, this is especially true for those like 9s and 10s that think they are something. Mm-hmm. They will use dates as free pre-parties, basically. Like they get a free dinner and a free drinks for a couple hours, then they're gonna go meet up with their friends anyway. And for that reason, I deliberately schedule dates like that in other areas where I am comfortable running the dates, but also I know I reduce the risk of this happening.
Coot, looking like a fucking absolutely Gen Alpha, buddy. Good, buddy. Good. You're up to date. So my first thought to that, just say that they can come too. I'm sure there's enough of me to go around. Yeah, I like that, but if she already has plans with the friends, then I feel like that's missing the point here. Um, my first thought to that, I mean, first of all, I agree with you entirely. You fucked up beforehand, but you're hearing this situation now. So what the fuck do I do now? Right? Okay, I get it. I fucked up, but now I'm here. So what do I do? My first reaction would be like, oh, that sounds like a great time. You know, funny enough, I was planning on going there as well. Did we both have a plan B for this date? And I would play into that a little bit. And this is where it would get really interesting because this is a Hail Mary, right? This may or may not work. But going in for that, if she's like, oh, well, like we should definitely go, then I'd be like, before we go, I have one really important question for you. Are any of your friends hotter than you? Oh no. Because now you've flipped the script entirely. Because now she's sitting here thinking like, wait. I thought I had this on lock, but if you come there and one of my friends is hotter, you might migrate over. Hold on a second. She might want to change the plans entirely and say, do you know what? Actually, I wasn't all that excited about going to this thing anyway, or whatever else.
I just realized that there is a third thing to this,
Go for
which is that it's actually an escape route. Like she's not really enjoying the date, and she
it.
is saying this to guarantee a way out, so
Yeah.
that she guarantees that like she's planted the seed that we're not going home together today at all, and then she's gonna ghost you afterwards.
Oh, you mean like if she says this at the beginning of the date?
Yeah, like she seeds this like an hour and a half into the date. Like say we met
Oh.
up at 8 and it's now 10, and she drops this now and says I have plans with my friends at midnight.
By the way, just so you know, I have plans with my friends in
In
1
2 hours,
hour,
yeah.
in 2 hours, right? Like, oh,
Because that is her way of telling you that she's not interested.
yeah,
That she wants out of here.
she's just not having a good time on the date, man. Um, so what do I do in this situation? You shit test her. And I don't mean interrogate her because that's not the point here. The point is we want to find out if this is real or if she just wants to go. Now, good news is you're a dude, which means you actually always have the option of just being like, oh, well, if you just wanted to like end the date, right? If you're not having a good time, that's fine. You can just go. It's okay. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You go the pure indifference, the pure scarcity route of like, I just don't give a shit. So that's always there, and you should feel free to use that. If you feel like that's what she's doing, you can call it out. However, I would, if she's playing the game, I would continue on with playing the game. And, I maybe, depending on the situation, maybe I would try to poke holes and see, like, is this real or not? Or maybe I would be like, so you're telling me I have 2 hours to give you the best time of your life, give you the quickest taxi ride of your life, and then give you the best orgasm of your life? Challenge accepted. Right? Like, I might actually lean into it and be like, awesome. I'm actually really cool with us shortening the timeline here. And you can do that. There are dozens of ways to go about answering any of these shit tests, like just like we went through tonight, right? But the most important thing is that you understand, first of all, you have to know, what are my goals? What would I view as the best outcome of this date? My goal in every one of these answers is, how do I bring us closer to bringing my best version to fruition? Too many guys go into dates without a clear picture of what it is that they want to achieve on the date. If all you're trying to achieve is to get to know her better, then it's fine. She has plans in 2 hours. That's okay. You guys can talk. You can get to know each other a little bit for an hour and a half, and then she's going to jet, right? No problem. That does not impede your plans one bit. If your plan is to hook up with her that night, it does impede your plans, or it shortens them. So that's also a possibility. Or if your plan is, if what you want is to try to turn this into a serious long-term relationship, then probably you're dating the wrong girl, because you didn't know about the 14 types, because you didn't click the free link below to get your free ebook.
And to answer Kurt's question here, like, Paul, if your place is in Hongdae and you're taking her outside, what's your plan to get her to your place? In my situation, it doesn't matter. I can just get a room anywhere. I will literally just get a room for the night wherever I'm taking her.
Yeah. Just wherever is nearby. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you don't need to take her that far, but you need to take her far enough that it doesn't make sense to go party afterwards. That's like kind of, you gotta raise the bar a little bit. That's the idea. Like, for guys' sake, like if you're in Seoul, like my go-to for second location would be Shinsa, which is, it's a quick 30-minute ride to Hongdae anyway.
So wait, you mean your second location, with the first being in Hongdae?
No, like, so my go-to date location would be Hongdae, right? But for
Yeah.
these specific type of girls that I know are a flight risk, then Shinsa is the place for me, because then it's not an area where they would normally go to party, but it's still within where I can do my routine.
Just sometimes I forget that English is not your first language. And I'm just blown away by, like, why would you ever know the word or the phrase flight risk? There's no reason. I studied Spanish for a decade. I've been in Korea for 14 years. I don't know the phrase for flight risk. Like, what kind of wild shit is this? But
Yeah.
Hey, props to the Norwegian education system, I guess. I don't know.
I don't think it has anything to do with the education system. But yeah, so the other question the kid had is that you're on the first date and she mentions she doesn't do hookups. How do you proceed? So this is straight up a shit test.
Yeah.
Like, this is just calling you out to see, are you who you say you are, or who I perceive you to be.
Or also, there's another possibility, which is, I'm lying to you and I want to see if you can sniff out my lie.
Yeah. And my go-to response, like, as long as the date is going okay, it's like we're at the point, like the dynamic is okay, like I can see this going all the way. My response to that question will always be perfect. You're gonna need a full weekend to enjoy all of this.
I like that. So that's a flip the script right there.
Yeah, it's both a flip the script and amplify it.
Exactly.
And it's just perfect every time.
Flip the script, agree and amplify. I love that entirely. I ran into this one years ago. I went on a first date with a girl from Tinder who Julius, who's not with us today, still remembers her. And on our first date, she told me, she said, just so you know, like, and this is out of nowhere. She was like, just so you know, I don't ever sleep with someone unless we've been dating for 3 months. And I was like, I know we've been drinking a while, but has it already been 3 months? Wow. Okay, well, I suppose rules are rules. And like, so that was an intentional misunderstanding.
The other
But
one you can go with in the same situation is like, who said anything about sleeping?
right, exactly. Who said, wait, like, get your mind out the gutter, girl. What in the world made you listen? All I asked for was gin and tonic. None of those words sounded like pussy, did they? Right? You can go the other way with it, and you can, oh, holier than thou. You can pearl clutch, right? You can play a lot of different games with this, but I knew that she was a hoe. Like I knew on the date that she was a hoe, and she was, but she was trying to pretend that she wasn't.
Hmm.
And so what I wanted to do there was call her out as like, look, I know what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to look for like the beta guy who's gonna, like who's gonna go along with this bullshit. But that guy isn't me. I know what you're doing. I know your script. I know this whole thing start to finish. So I played into it as if it was like, wow, we've been drinking for a long time, but I didn't realize that it had already been 3 months. But suppose rules are rules. And worked brilliantly. Surprise, surprise. Right? Because like she was a hoe. She said she wasn't a hoe. I said, I know you're a hoe. And then we went back and we banged. Right? Like it the point of this story is that even when the script is obvious, right? Like the subtext is obvious. All the things that are in parentheses are obvious to both people. You still play the game. You still do the dance. Because if you just come out and say it, it ruins it. If in that situation, if I had just come out and said, no, I don't believe you. I think that you fuck on the first date pretty much every time.
That is
What?
literally the only way you can fail that one, though.
And, no. Okay.
Yeah, okay is the other one, but
Yeah.
like literally
Like,
calling her out straight,
yeah.
even though she wants it, she would be turned off by the response.
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say earlier when we were going through these examples, and I was saying like there are a couple of these that I would actually meet head on, right? Like the friend zone thing, or the we need to know each other more, or we need to talk more. Like I would meet both of those head on. But most shit tests are actually just they might be checking your congruency, they might be checking your emotional intelligence, or they might just be checking like how well do you dance the dance, how well do you play the game, do you know the game? Because if you don't know the game, I'm happy to take all your money and all your time and then not give you anything in return. But if you do know the game, good, let's play the game, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're demonstrating when you pass these shit tests, is that you're showing her, look, I know the game, at least to these girls who are very experienced. You're showing her, look, I know the game. It's cool. I'm not mad at you. Real respects real, player respects player, right? Cool. We're good. Let's play. And then we go. Da 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 da. Right? Like, let's do the dance. So yeah, I think that that's just as important as all the other stuff, is knowing when to use the different techniques, knowing how to use them in your style, but also knowing when to make it obvious, when to say, oh, I know what you're doing. I'm not going to say it, because nobody who plays the game says we're playing the game. But we know we're playing the game. Okay, good. This is fun. And this is one of the things that I point out in the 14 types method, where you can get your free ebook down here. But one of the things that I point out is that if you're dealing with girls like the slut or like the attention whore, who are used to dealing with dozens or even hundreds of different guys, they are masters at the game and they enjoy the game for the sake of the game, for the sake of the dance, right? They don't dance because it brings them closer. They dance because they love the dance, if that makes any sense at all. And so you need to be a master of the dance.
Yeah, I would say like to get her in the mood for the dance with no pants, you need to be able to do the dance, basically.
But all right, we got a few comments in a row here. Let's start with I blame English movies.
You're not the first to say that, and the context here was that she says she doesn't fuck on the first date.
You're not the first to say that. Okay, cool. Here's a all right, Crow, if you're still watching, you should absolutely take this in to your dictionary of moves to use. But here's how you do it. If she says something like that, she says, oh, by the way, I don't sleep with a guy until the third date, or I don't sleep with a guy until we've dated for 3 months. Then you say, I'm going to go into teacher mode for a second. Are you cool? She's going to be taken off guard because, like, what does this have to do with? Do you know the word erroneously? It means that you say something that you think is true but isn't true, or you want other people to believe is true, but it isn't true. Let me give you an example. You are not the first girl to erroneously make such a claim on our date. Does that make sense to you? Well, now you've learned a new word, and you know that I know you're full of shit. Like I would have a fucking heyday with these. Any time that you can create kind of like a loft conversation, if that makes sense. Like if you think about like a loft apartment where everything is downstairs, but then there's just a loft that's separate, but it's still part of the apartment, right? And so anytime that you can create a loft conversation that's like, it seems like a tangent, it seems like a different topic, but then it comes back in, this is a really, really effective conversation technique because it makes sure that they're paying attention, first of all, which most girls actually do, much more than you think that they do. And it makes them really dig in deep to be like, hold on a second. This guy's talking a lot more than normal. I can't be checking my phone while I'm talking to him. And he fucking knows, doesn't he? And that's what a girl wants. A girl wants a guy who knows. This is one of the reasons why to guys, we love virgins, we love inexperience, but girls hate it. Why is that? Right? And it's not just cultural, it's not just religious or whatever else. There are actual reasons for it. And it's because a guy is comfortable teaching a girl the right thing to do, but a girl is not comfortable teaching a guy the right thing to do. Most of the time. There are girls out there, but mostly, look, they just want you to already know. Yeah, they want you to know what works, what you should do, what you can do. Like, they don't want to have to teach you. So you show them, you know the game, you know the dance. And not only that, but you're a master practitioner at it. So with that, I think we're going to wind this up with a final cheers. So gentlemen, cheers. Paul, Coot, Crow, Sabi.
Cheers.
And anyone else who's joined in, cheers. Oh, and with that, I think we're going to go ahead and get the hell out of here. So until next time, boys. Oh, we got one last one. She can teach you some cooking recipes, though. I guess. Yeah. What's the context on that?
No idea.
Okay. There's one below it. What is that?
Cheers.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, just like the mouse is there, and so it's lit up blue on my screen. All right, well, cheers, gents, and very fun talking with all of you tonight. Hope that you've got some good information out of this, and I hope that it will help to further improve your dates, as I always hope to every single week. And so, with that said, thank you very much, Paul, for joining in. And until next week, boys, Papa Jack out.